within the university. So as we are sitting here, I know even now we leaders, we are leaders to our places of work. But as we are sitting here, we are working within the frame of this university. So that's what we consider, and particularly we consider heads of departments, chairs of departments, Kisii University, UASU leaders. We thank God that in the history of UASU life in the university, this time we had 3 ladies who made it to the top position. And that is what we want. So more will be said as we go on. And then we also consider the student union leaders, and I think they will be joining us, and the PhD holders, and heads of department for various administrative offices. So, like I've said, the theme is women in leadership, and the hashtag is so basically that's what we are going to have a discussion about. So then I also want to appreciate our youngest Gracie. She's already here. Gracious Gracie. And then we join for this. So thank you so much. I now want to request we have 2 moderators, that is Dr. Nyamoni and Dr. Stella. So they will be moderating this session. So I just want to ask them to now take over. Dr. Nyamoni, will you do the first phase of the moderation? Dr. Stella will take over the next phase. Good morning, women of substance. Good morning. You fine? Yeah. Thank God for this International Day for us, that we can sit here and talk about affairs that affect us as women who are in leadership or supposedly to be in leadership. But it's maybe not working for us. The International Women's Day is an organized activity by the UN Women for the agenda, the just one agenda of gender equality. The women can enjoy their space, the women can enjoy same pay in structures that are not as organized as, for example, Kisii University. It is important to note that in some areas, women are not able to, they don't earn the same salary even when they do the same roles or same jobs. And there are also other roles that we need to agitate that they be paid for. The motherhood roles. You work many hours of the day, other than this work you come to do, no one pays you. I've seen recently that we can start paying, I think, Grace, the services will be paid, child care, home care, they will be paid, something that is in the pipeline. It's also important to mention that the UN Women also have other themes that are running throughout the year that still concern us as women. The 65th, that is CSW, Commission for Status of Women, which takes place from 23rd to end of March. So they seem to arrange their activities so that they help us to keep running our agenda. And the main idea, that's a global commission where people gather together to know what progresses, what steps are being made by women. And then there is a flagship project by the UN Women, which is running a current flagship project that's a campaign against gender-based violence against girls and women. So some of the things you see. I perused today's newspaper, and what I have seen is that there is a general concern. But okay, there are steps being made, steps are being made. Some progress is happening about the gender inclusion, women in decision making. We see it remotely, but still let us appreciate that has happened and look forward to other things. Change or any change to take place, it will take you and me, even in this university. We will start doing something. I want to thank the group, the committee, for organizing this very, very important activity on this day. Like us as ladies in this university, we can begin a narrative, a negotiation, a conversation about what is this that really affects us. How can we get out? I am not the presenter. Therefore, let me begin from here, so that we are, or we can postpone the introduction of names to a time when many people will come. Do you think that will be okay? Yes. So much for doing. Each of us is supposed to be here. It's not here. Thank you so much, my co. Now, please look at the wall. Look at the wall. And see who is not here. That was supposed to be here. And you have their number. Please say them or walk out slowly and come and ask why have you come? So, feel welcome and let us begin this event on high notes. And I want to take this opportunity and ask Madam Grace Nogesa, our Niseme Amiliwachi. Just come slowly and come in your capacity and stand where I am and begin the conversation. Please let's give a warm round of applause as she comes. But I have to pick up the list. Please stop. Let us go. I don't know how much time that's about to be able to change the of presentation. When we work with analysts here, we say, I don't think that. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I always like when these issues are discussed to have even one or two men, because it helps them understand where we are coming from. So that they will tell a friend to tell a friend, this is what we are all about, isn't it? So thank you, convener, for inviting me to speak on this day. Of course, I know International Women's Day and how this movement began way back in 1909, when women in the socialist countries, American socialist people were also there, when they began agitating, like we have been told, about their rights. Particularly, it started with them in the labor issues that were affecting them, including sexual harassment and so on. So when they began this movement in 1909, in 1910, again, they joined and agitated and had a conference. Then in 1911, in March again, this day was recognized. So it was decided that we have an International Women's Day just to celebrate women and the challenges that they have. And it's in 1911, the women in America agitated for their rights to be allowed to vote. So men would vote, women would not vote. And they also wanted their space in leadership to be felt. Though they started, the movement started there, but we have seen progressively they have not done well in terms of having a lady at the helm. I hoped that Hillary would take up the position so that we get at least a woman. So International Women's Day, the theme is choose challenge. A challenged world that is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. You know, from challenges, change comes. The challenges you face every day, you agitate, get change. So that's it. So you are the change you desire, isn't it? Want change, you want to lead, take the bold step, begin showing your interest in leadership, for instance, and people will notice you're there and vote for you if you so desire to take up leadership. So there are so many issues we can talk about, but we will focus today on leadership so that we see where we live. As a lawyer, I will speak about the legal framework generally, because if we don't have legal framework and we are agitating about many things, the tendency to ignore us is very high, isn't it? So we have pushed in various spaces. My name is Leslie. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I also teach at the School of Law. And I occupy many spaces because of the women agenda. I go for it. I look for it, I go for it. I was the first vice chair of FIDA Kenya outside Nairobi. Nairobi is where most of our members are. So you can imagine if they're electing or elections, most members will elect their own person, right? So I was the first one outside Nairobi, vice chair. And currently I'm the president-elect of Sorority International. People about Sorority later. It's also a very big space, a global voice for women. And FIDA is the premier leading women's organization in Kenya. We speak about women's rights. Our membership is only lawyers, but sorority means any woman can be. And I like these spaces because they speak a lot to what women do. When Patel was talking about CSW, I don't know how many of us have attended a CSW session, because I do attend, and this year I'm attending it virtually. I think it will give something. Yeah, I'm attending it virtually, but other years I'm physically attending. I also attend the sessions in Banjul, and those are good spaces to speak about this issue. So the importance of this day is that we reflect on the progress made and call for change, and we celebrate the acts and determination of ordinary women who have done great things in our spaces and who have played extraordinary roles in the history of their countries and community. And those women are there within us. If we single out Kenya only,
we will get enough women. If we look at women internationally, we have women who have done great things, moved out of their space and out of their comfort zone to occupy spaces that were ordinarily not for women. And therefore, this day is very, very important because we reflect on those challenges. What have women done differently? And what can we do differently also to move into these spaces? And I love what the UN Women Executive Director, Kisii Zuka, says about the theme this year. She says we need women's representation that reflects all women and girls in all their diversity and abilities and across all cultural, social, economic, and political situations. This is the only way we will get real societal change that incorporates women in decision making as equals and benefits us all. Why do we need women in leadership? Because it is only women who can understand our issue and place them on the table for someone to understand. I teach gender and the law at the law school. I'm passionate about it. I also teach children and the law because when you talk about children, basically you talk about women's roles out there. When there is war and people are running away, it is the woman who will tag her baby in the back trying to run away as the man is coming. If you do research in certain communities, they have very little regard about women. Sometimes when there's a little kukorofishana in the house, the man just walks away and goes and leaves the woman with the children, taking care of them. So it is us who know why we need clean water and in decent quantities, reasonable quantities. It is women who know why there must be a borehole here. We don't care if there's another one. We don't care whether there's another one here because we know our specific needs for water. I tell my students a lot of times that we have water. Men, the boys in the class, can you tell me what you need this water for? The ladies, and you discover the ladies' use for the water is excessive, isn't it? If we were to go one day, if we were to go 1 week, say a month without bathing, for the men it will be almost near okay. Men, and I'm not insulting, I think it will be near okay, so to speak, not too much challenges, right? But if the woman go through a whole month without water, 2 weeks a week, it is too much. Go on to you if you follow those patterns, right? You can't survive. So when we talk about equality for women, we are not talking about, equality and equity. People tend to mix these issues and get confused in the process. So significance of this day, we are happy to celebrate womanhood, recognize her achievements without regard to divisions, national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, economic, or political. We focus on the woman as a woman. One challenge goes on, and if I go beyond time, let me know, I'll try to speak very fast. One challenge that women have is when we still again, we know we are marginalized, isn't it? And that's where you have affirmative action. So other than the marginalization, there are those women who suffer more because of where they come from, their culture, their ethnic. Look at women in India, for example. And it's still there in those deep communities where if your husband dies, when the pyre is put there to burn him, you are also thrown there as a widow because whom are you going to be left with? You'll start prostituting, for instance. So when you look at this woman already marginalized within the brackets of the marginalized people, but then again, they have to suffer double tragedy by finding themselves in that country. But what happens to the man? Nothing about the man. The woman is burnt if she dies, but if he leaves the husband, it's okay to marry another one. So there are those challenges when you look at ethnic, you look at the language, the culture, the economy, the politics of the time. And in Kenya, we have this thing called the rural woman. It's not only in Kenya, but the way it's basically in many third world countries, you find the rural woman. So the rural woman also has a challenge. So you find when the urban women are taking positions in politics, nobody thinks that these rural women have their own needs and therefore we should raise leaders there. So in our space, we have tried to go down to the grassroots to train women so that they can take up leadership positions. And I celebrate quite a number of women who I saw even selling kudos at the airport really taking the challenge. There was a woman in Kisii, she became an MC in the last parliament, and I was very happy because she used to sit there selling to wadosi. Ukiona wadosi wakishuka na ndege na uzia hao. So we were in one of the trainings she attended, and she got challenged and took her leadership. She became an MC, and she really participated in taking so many bills to the Kisii Assembly. So it's also a day to acknowledge and make people aware of women's rights, gender equality, gender parity, and to call for action to accelerate women's equality. We call for action. We call for action for us in the legal fraternity. When we had the first constitution that didn't see the light of the day, 2005 voting, I was for no. Because women were being given with one hand, and the whole chapter on culture. We all know culture has been used to demean women. Religion has also been used to demean women if we are not careful. So certain aspects of culture and religion are not good. And therefore, there was a whole chapter, a lot of good is for women, but again, being taken away from culture. So that was important. But in the second one, I voted yes, because there was integration in regards to achievement. Of course, you can never have 100% a good document, but we look at what are the gains for women in the constitution. That's discussion for another day. So that we look at the gains and we begin appreciating. So why gender equality? Because it is a fundamental human right and necessary foundation for peaceful and prosperous, sustainable world. If women are known to be peacemakers. So if you want a peaceful world, can we involve women in sustainable development? Can there be equality? A place where women can also talk, can voice, can be heard, and sit on the table and also contribute to their agenda. And if you look at the women leaders within our country, of course they have tried. I celebrate Charity which was Minister for Women. She took a lot of work to Kambani, and people began bashing her, and men do the same thing. And I was very happy with her. Why? She knew the needs of the women in Kambani, and she took the water there. And she does not shy away from giving women opportunities to serve. So I celebrate such women who go out of their way to do what the men do. So gender equality and again, it is not central to the 2030 agenda for sustainable development, SDGs, and all the 17 sustainable development goals. Gender equality is and empowerment of women is critical. Gender equality is also its own development goal, SDG 5, if you look at it, and is reflected in 45 targets and 54 gender-specific indicators of the SDGs. So if you look at those indicators, women empowerment is really critical. So we need gender equality by all means. If by 2030 we have a just world, we need gender equality. And when we talk about women's agenda, even access to justice, those who suffer more are women. In my office, I've just specifically asked my staff, be very kind to women when they come here. We charge fees this much, we will tell them there are those who will pay no problem, but there are those who are struggling. I have removed money from my own pockets to file suits for women, to file appeals for women in my own space, just to fight. Because sometimes I see a judgment of the court and I feel this judgment is just fighting me, and I have to move money from my pocket and file for the justice. So sometimes women don't have the money, but if you look at the issues, they're so overwhelming to the woman, and we need her to be stable so that she can raise a generation, isn't it? So why women in leadership? Women's equal participation in leadership is essential to the SDG, like we have said. Today, you can see that more than ever, it is being accepted that women bring different experiences on the table in leadership. They bring different experiences. They bring different perspectives. They experience different perspectives and approach to issues. They bring different skills to the table. They make a irreplaceable contribution to vision, policies, and laws that work better, for the better for all. Like, it's not lost to us. Although this was a bill by FIDA, we gave one of our members, she ran with it. It is now called the Njoki laws. But Njoki was our member, so FIDA thought that in the wake of too much sexual violence against children and women, the law that was there, if a child was defiled, there had to be corroboration. There had to have been somebody seeing, somebody watching, and somebody witnessing before you could get a conviction against a person who has assaulted a child. But we needed now the laws to look at the issue a little bit broader, even the way we define, because in court somebody would want the child to say what exactly they saw, what exactly was inserted in them, what exactly happened, and we find really how are we cultured as young girls. It was taboo to talk about sex, right? Many of us were told taboo and bad. If we are talking about the male organ, we'll be telling the child do, or those are the words, isn't it? So when the child comes to court, akasema niliona do, then they are not saying anything. So there will be no conviction automatically. But none of us has brought up them or has brought up children to necessarily talk about this thing. But it is a discussion young parents need to have with children. Call those things by their name so that the child knows what it is. Educate them. We are living in a different generation from the one we had those of my age. When, like I said, I will focus on the legal framework. And why am I focusing on the legal framework? I'm focusing on the legal framework because if we are talking about anything that's not within the legal framework, nobody will listen to us. That is the truth. You can see the law has the two-third gender rule in place, and there was supposed to be legislation. Up to now, we don't have it. And now we have another set of discussion called the BBI now. Maybe trying to mitigate what was not there. And probably there we will also single out what is good in it for us, as opposed to either supporting or opposing. At this point, I'm not going to zero in on that discussion because we leave it for our own civic education and our own judgment. We want to support it, we want to support it. We look at it individually in our own spaces. So the international framework draws a lot from the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. We call the document CEDAW, CEDAW. And then we will have resolutions that are usually made arising from these international conventions and treaties that are there in place. So in 2011, the UN General Assembly on Resolution on Women's Political Participation stressed its critical importance in all contexts. It called on UN member states to take a variety of measures, which include reviewing different impacts of the electoral systems on the political participation of women and their representation in elected bodies, so that they can adjust and reform those systems where appropriate. And therefore, for us, we are lucky now we have the Constitution that talks about equality. There are other laws, the Political Parties Act, that also calls upon parties to ensure that the two-part gender rule within the parties is observed. So it is up to women also to wake up and take these spaces, isn't it? The law will be there, but if we don't take action, so that we test to see how it works and whether it works for us. In the two-part gender rule, I keep on encouraging men to support it because one day the table will be turned. It is them who will lead that affirmative action. It is not going to be men. We are getting clever, isn't it? And we are moving into this space by fire, by force. So we are not relenting. So the other thing that was to remove to encourage political parties to remove barriers that directly or indirectly discriminate against participation of women, to develop their capacity to analyze issues from a gender perspective, to adopt policies as appropriate to promote the ability of women to participate participate fully at all levels of decision making within the political parties, so that women are part of the political parties. That is reminding me to stop, but I just give me an opportunity. I don't want to rush through, and to promote awareness and recognition of the importance of women in political parties. It also encourages women to be involved, women who are marginalized to be involved. We have already talked about double marginalization of women. Women, by virtue of being women, are marginalized. So you can imagine those within the marginalized ethnic community, what happens to them? They are at a worse disadvantaged position. Then we talk about women with disabilities, women from rural areas, women from other ethnic community societies where they cannot move out to get into these spaces. Cultural, religious, minority, and all these women at this level still suffer from double jeopardy. Then we have the UN General Assembly Resolution on Women's Political Participation. It also gave other challenges that we need to ensure that measures to reconcile family and professional life apply equally to women and men. This is where you find women want to participate in these spaces. Campaigns are taking place at night. At what point are you find women realistically? And I'm talking of a normal woman who has, you can imagine going out on campaign and clubs at night so that you can get this position. Is it really, are you going to get it? You will not, because those are the days we sleep, and those are the days the men will be going to those areas that you needed to be there to get your votes. So you have a small baby. You must balance. You need your family life. You also need your space and leadership. So what are we talking about? Policies and laws that incorporate women to enable them to participate in these spaces. Then we have participation of young people. Women will also be there. Civil society to assist also in educating and training women and girls. And then you can see media also destroys women a lot. When men do certain things, it is okay. When a woman pinches the nose of another woman, it was blown out of proportion. A woman was captured. That was a very good, isn't it? When a judge man drew a knife and stabbed somebody, the guy went on with his work. It went under the table. When a woman pinched a nose, she lost her job. That is the challenge we have as women, you know. So we need to really rise up and see. So the UN Economic and Social Council resolution also is very important, 1990, which called on governments, political parties, trade unions. Dr. Walugwa, Dr. Lukabe, this is where you are, trade unions. And this is in tandem. I'm looking, one of the things that made me join that space of our union is just to see that women are not there, the leadership. And if we look at the law, it's doing nothing to address what the Constitution has provided. And it's a 2014 document. After the Constitution, there's nothing about two-part gender within it. So that if we have, even at the national, if we have a man as the SD, let's have a woman as an assistant, and vice versa. So we need to get into this spaces and fight when we are inside, okay? So we have trade unions, professional and other group to adopt a 30% minimum proportion of women in leadership position with a view of achieving equal representation. Then we have the Beijing Platform for Action, which reiterates the resolutions of 1990-2015, 2015, and calls for increase of women's representation in strategic objective. Then we have CEDAW, of course, which I've talked about, which includes commitment under Article 7 on political and public life, and Article 8 on representation, that women need to be involved in representation. Then let's look at women in executive government position. The world over, women serve as heads of state or government in only 22 countries. 119 countries have never had a woman. That's how bad it is globally. Then just 10 countries have a woman-headed state, and 13 countries have a woman-headed government. Then we only have 21% of government ministers who are women, with only 14 countries having achieved 50% or more women in cabinet. The 5 most commonly held portfolios by women. If you look at the government, what positions are, we are talking globally, what positions are women given? The first woman to be assistant minister here was given assistant minister of education. First woman in politics to be given a position in Kenya was assistant minister of education. Then ministries that women will be given is family, anything to do with children, youth, elderly, disabled, social affairs, environment, natural resources, energy, employment, labor, vocational training, and women affairs and gender equality. That's why you find many women in leadership positions. Then women in national parliament, only 25% of all national parliamentarians are women, up to 11% in men, up from 11% in 1995. Now currently we have only 25%, that's the world over. Then only 4 countries have 50% or more women in parliament in single or lower houses. Rwanda leads with 61%, our neighbor, Cuba with 53, Bolivia with 53, and the Arab Emirates have 50% of women in leadership. Then globally, there are 27 states in which women account for less than 10% of parliamentarians in single or lower houses, including 4 single lower chambers with no women at all. There are states where you find there are no women at all. Then the constitutional framework, if we bring it down to our own space, then we have Article 81. Women are protected from acts of inequality that tend to limit their participation in running for elected positions. The Constitution maintains a 1/3 gender rule or requirement in elected bodies that gives women at least 1/3 minimum in elected bodies, and even appointing. That is why you see there is always a lot when we get appointed board position. We always look out, are they observing that? At least we air our policies. Article 91 is there also on political parties, which requires the government to respect and promote human rights and fundamental freedom and gender equality and equity. Then we also have provisions on non-discrimination. And these provisions on non-discrimination we find in Article 27 of the Constitution, where there is equality before the law, rights to equal protection, rights to equal treatment of men and women, prohibition against discrimination on any ground. This is there in Article 27. Then challenges that to women's participation in leadership. What are the challenges? And there are no lack of security and threats to violence. I have had a meeting with quite a number of women in terms of the challenges they have. One, if we are talking of in the political space, now I want to single out this lady, Millie Odwalla. What is so peculiar about Millie? She thinks men when they try to attack a womanhood, she drives back. She throws back. But what is important? What's the other issue? Thank you for that. What's the other issue that I've singled out Millie? That space is very important. Something that she broke the ceiling, so to speak, in terms of running for that position. Mainly ready for a position, and this is the challenge many women have, where she is born, she is married to a Zimbabwe. So you know that bashing of where I see what happened, when vying for your position there. The challenge you have when you're vying where you are married is the propaganda. This one is not our own. She's not our own. Why is she coming here to vie? You get it? So if women still suffer those challenges. When you are vying where you are born, you are married, you're supposed to go where you are married. When you are vying where you are married, you are not our own. Go back where you came from. Where you came from, your position was already taken. The men already divided the land. The women also suffer from intimidation when such things are involved, improper influence or corruption. Most women are not corrupt. Lack of resources is a challenge. Discriminative policies that don't specifically address women's concerns when they're running into these spaces. And lack of support from fellow women, is that so? Yeah, I know when I was campaigning myself, I said, women, it is our time to have our issues on the table. And I know by the time I did the 5 years, a few issues that concerned me, and I think concern my fellow women, will try to look at them on the table. Thinking outside the box. It's not about quarrels. They will not be quarreling about certain things. They will be sorted out. What happens to the rest of the time? We sit back and say, we don't have water, we need tanks. Can the union make sure that we give us something? So lack of support. I called upon women. I did share away from telling them women is our time. Support them. Then sexual harassment is very critical also. It's really, and I know the women who are buying with me sit and compare notes. And when we post our photos, because members have to know who we are, because some women also didn't know who we are. But the kind of inboxes you get, that's what is very beautiful. Oh, you are my cash. Oh, you are my what? But we decided we are going to rise. We sit the three of us and encourage us and rise above this level and go for it. Let's not let this hit us or attack us. We'll go for this hit. So we ignore, but we still needed that word. So we don't hit back with that funny response. We just remain focused. When you begin, you love my photo, you love the way figure. That's what we want. So we rose above it. And one day I was speaking to Millie, and Millie told me that during her campaign, she would get personal attacks to her vehicle. Then she decided if she goes to the media to cry foul, they'll just say, Mwanamke analia. So she suffered a lot, including people attacking her home. Her mother eventually died. Her siblings are angry, but she goes above it because she knew what she wanted to take to Parliament concerning the women for. So inability to enforce the 2/3 gender rule has also happened, women participating. Profiling women along their marital status, place of birth, vis-a-vis marriage, and so on, all these things are part of the challenge. I close by saying, Margaret Mead says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that it ever has. Small things that we are putting together will change the world. And then Jerry Perez says, the measure of civilization of society is how they treat their weakest members. How does society treat its members? So I want to leave you with that. I've exhausted my 20 minutes. And Jackie, thank you for adding me another 2. I think if time allows, we will have other discussions, maybe not even today, but we need to understand affirmative action. Where in your space do you fight? Our students who are leaders, have you fought for the 2/3 gender rule within your space? Is it observed? It's not. You need to fight for these spaces. Because once the Constitution talks about something, it is the supreme law of the land. So any other laws and policies that come up must mainstream gender. Must. Thank you.
That was very powerful. Powerful, she means that bigger. Can we begin? Go. One. All right. Let me begin with instructions. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And come down and down up to 0. Let us go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Go. My lips do not get it. For their sake. For their sake. Can we begin? Now, remember it's 5 times 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Lunch. I'm sure you had things you never had. isn't it? They go to the work all the way from where we are to where it began. Began from 2011. Remember, our constitution was 2010, so 2011, then General Assembly. And she put us step by step the challenges that women and girls face at all levels. And we already found that we are enemies of ourselves. Hawa wataweza history given wataweza. Or unto that woman who did not there what to her to them. But yet yeah, whether you did or you did not do, we are here now. We want to thank Grace for that good presentation, and I want to quickly ask, what are your thoughts? We begin with additions. Those who feel like this should have been mentioned. This should have been mentioned. Again, what Buka tulipatia 20 minutes. So, any thoughts before we go to questions? Thank you so much. Now, what was coming kwa sababu, because you are already masked, so the voice has gone down. That's from the school of law.
My name is Hassan. First of all, comment what my seat was presented, and my comment would rather be about, are we really talking about women not being represented, or we're talking about inclusion? Because one of the things that we dealt with gender is the fact that it is seen as a binary kind of debate, which talks about women in comparison to men. And some will say that it is because women want to be like men. Is that what we want? I think the debate about gender has actually moved from just looking at men and women to looking at inclusion, whereby we want to do these things together. We want our spaces without having to compete. Because remember, women and men have different needs, very different needs. Yet we complement each other. So that today we don't want to suffer criticism that our work is to sit and complain about how men are favored and we are not favored, but rather to take up our space and say, fine, we do not want to be men. We just want to be women, and we want to take up our spaces and do that which is required of us. And you will find that most of the times you talked about challenges that affect women, and one of them is that we are not friends to each other. Women don't like each other. Why don't we break that narrative? Okay? Why don't we start by being friends of each other, supporters of each other, so that when I see a woman trying, jump in and help them. And you will find that there are so many other men who are willing to help. And I like what you said, how when you're campaigning and then you get this message that you're my clash or that kind of thing. I think we should come together as women and sisters and try to look at these things like how do we support each other? How do you overcome those kind of challenges? I like also what you mentioned about Rwanda. Today, people say because Rwanda 63%, the leading in the world is women composition. It is likely that there will never be another war in Rwanda. Why? Because when women are in leadership, then it is equated. Research shows that women in leadership is equal to peace. And so therefore, let us take our rights. Let us not spend so much time trying to see how marginalized we will get out on so many. It is the truth. It is what it is. But then let us move from there and each day proactively try to, get to do what we need to do. occupy our spaces. And then, of course, the gender mainstreaming. We can start from wherever position you are. What is it that you can do about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Very powerful and supporting what Chris has been talking about. That we can rise above what we're doing. That we can support the woman that is just going to stay out and say it can be done. Let us be there to say it's doable. It can be done. That is the best we can do.
Just wish to the school is you want change, then that change to be so desired. If you want change, then you can do that change that you desire. You know, like in the political spaces, anytime you hear a woman has been nominated, there will be this talk that, you know, this is the so and so's that thing, which is not necessarily the case. And unfortunately, women will be part of the people who will be propagating such kind of talk. So when we get such kind of negative talk against fellow women, can we be the people to start stopping that kind of nonsense? Because I call it nonsense. Anytime a lady is in a position, she's in a position because she went with the so and stuff like that, and then we keep, you know, spreading that gospel. May it start with each and every one of us, that when somebody is basically in leadership, it's not because they are going to be so and so. They have also their own abilities, just as we are being encouraged that let's fight for these places, because I know there are women who sacrificed a lot to get to those particular positions and give themselves
Out from their writers. We are now in the era of 2022. I don't know whether we should be in the BDI. Walk from town to town and say, yes, we want to join the Uhuru versus Maira. But there are women in our own spaces, women in our communities where we come from. Even if you know something about them, people also know something about you. Let us support them so that they can pull us. Then we pull their other men. Let us support the women or come up. So thank you, somebody else. Then that is
Thank you.
You're not supposed to do this is meant for the boys, you're not. So at times when these girls grow up, they tend to think, no, I was taught that this and this belongs to the guys. So when it comes, when after somebody has already matured, you find that there are some things that they bound you. You are told you're not supposed to engage in this. Your opinions, you keep them to yourselves. I tend to believe that we should change our society. Let's teach young ladies from a very tender age. Let's tell them that you have the potential. Let's give them a chance to air out their opinions so that at the end, as we grow up, as we raise, as we follow our dreams, we are in a position whereby as a man speaks, a lady can also speak. You're given an a time to air out your opinions. So I believe it should be something that it should be foundational to every girl child from a very young age. Thank you.
Good challenge. Very good. Thank you for the clap. Yeah, you've spoken something very, very useful to youngsters that are here. As you grow up to start nurturing your own families, inculcate such good information to the children. Bring them up, empower them when they're growing. Some of us who are older, we may not be empowered enough. Maybe we are already empowered. But let us, I like what you're saying. Make a child, train a child in the way it should go. When he's grown or she's grown, the child will not depart. So we are asking this a challenge, and that's why we have been saying change begins with me. Now let us go to concerns. I think the comments are okay. Let's go to concerns. Any question you think you need to raise for the presenter? Questions?
My name is Dr. Waluba Zimhad. Thank you so much for this opportunity to ask a question to Madam Nyongesa. So I understand that women bring unique qualities to the leadership platform. So sometimes nurturing, peacemaking, and all these qualities sometimes are not found there. So one of the things that I'd like to ask you is how we as women can have our voices heard and call things by their names. Because one of the things you mentioned before was as we grow up, we are not taught how to call things by their name. We give euphemisms to particular ideas. How can we as women change that and actually start articulating and making our voices heard, making our points come across and not feel shy about things that are important to us? Because sometimes we want to articulate something, but since we don't have the vocabulary to articulate that with, we are shy and we just hide behind our masks. So how can we do that? How can we call things by their names and make our voices heard?
Thank you so much. Yes, this demystifying culture, it must go this way. How shall we change the narrative and say, if it's menstruation, you just call it, and you don't feel anything about it. You abstain. Those are the challenges which women go through, and they need a lot of what she said here. But we want to look for other terms to baptize or now paraphrase. So she's asking how do we move away from paraphrasing realities? The do things the way we want it. Thank you. And concern, so that she responds at once. Yes. Madam Treasurer.
Mine is not even a question. You have it from languages. So I want to claim that we can change everything if we use language effectively. Because I know that language can change our perceptions, it can change our worldviews, it can change everything. Even those traditions, they can be changed through language. So I think here language plays a very important role in all these processes. So I think we'll have to sit and look for a way of how do we come up with messages that are appealing to people, that are teaching our young children how to stand out as women and how to approach everything from that viewpoint. So for me, I think that will be great and it will solve everything, just focusing on language, Yeah, so if we focus on that, Tracy, I think we shall make it because it's about language. Yeah, thank you so much.
Very good. So one answer has been given. The other strategies can be found. Let's hear from Dr. Tino.
Thank you, ladies. For me, I want us to bring this discussion and whom is Kisii University, looking at the structure of this university. And for us who are staff members, are we really where we want to be? How do we balance the challenges and the reality on the ground? For example, maybe I'm working so hard to becoming a professor, in the near future? What are some of the challenges that I will meet when I'm here? I've always had this discussion, even with those senior professors, that yes, we need to do papers, we need to really work hard, and I don't want to be given promotion that I have not qualified for. Yet, I am a woman. When we leave these evening meetings, when I get home, I have to make supper. I have to do homework. I have to, not really the extra load, but I'm expected as a woman in my house to do the house chores. So by the time I want to settle down to do a paper, it's midnight. And the man we left this meeting with, the gentleman, they reach home, they shower, they start writing their papers. So how do we balance this? At what point, like even when we go for promotions, are they able to consider the fact that this is a woman and you have some extra duty before you sit down to write your papers? Then I've always been bothered by even what our students go through, and especially the female students. I appreciate that students all have challenges, but when you consider what our students go through, they walk through the university gate, orientation is done, but by the end of the semester, this first year girl would have conceived. Those of us who are in academic block, you see what happens during just a few weeks before graduation. We have expectant mothers. We have our girls with their children. They are all queuing there to. In fact, behind academic block, you will think it's a or a baby care center somewhere. And it really breaks you. Although I know sometimes people get babies because they want wameamua, but most of the time, when you talk to our young girls, they tell you that, what about the guy who is responsible for this pregnancy? And in the university, what to fanana, So it's like they really don't even know who is responsible for this pregnancy. So this has always been my concern, that suppose we had a baby care center or a mother's hostels. How do we balance this? Because when you argue this out with the men, they feel like you'll be promoting promiscuity in the university. It's like you're telling them, now go out, get babies, because we have a baby care center here. And as you go to class, your children will be taken care of. Actually, we've ended up in situations whereby this lady has a baby in class. And the baby is crying. And you have to give the girl permission. Why don't you go and take care of the baby first? But in the process, this lady is losing a lot of time. And yet, the man responsible is a student is going on. Some of them are even lecturers. They are writing papers. They are getting their PhDs. And so that's where we are. How do we balance the reality versus the challenges? And that will really help us bring this discussion home. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, another dimension that we shall all come together to assist. We are carrying out these questions together. She may not be having all the answers. The answers are with us. Is there any other concern or we start discussing? I think maybe let's give her a chance. Yes, to respond to the 4 concerns that have come up, then we shall proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think Dr. Yukabet answered some of the concerns actually. I want to thank all of you for the comments and the observations and the contribution to the discussion. When my sister Asna talked about the issue of women being their own enemies, it's a narrative I also don't like, but it is the reality. We need to find a way of not wishing it under the table, but making it a discussion for us. How do I embrace Dr. Walubwa, who is probably seeking leadership? How do I embrace her, cushion her? At some point, I didn't know my sister Lillian. but I drove from Nakuru to come and vote for her. I didn't know her. I just had her campaign, and I kept on saying, vote the lady. And I came all the way from Nakuru just to cast my vote and go back. That's how I believe in women in leadership. So for me, it is a way of us beginning to have this narrative of we must embrace one another. We need to talk about, when we talk about even culture, women are the gatekeepers of culture. As we have a law in place on FGM, women will still be the gatekeepers of culture. They're the ones who will be engaging young girls in this practice and teaching them how they must be neat. So we must begin this narrative. This conversation must go on, that we need to embrace one another. Let's not put it under the table. It must be on the table. We discuss, restructure it, and really deal with it on the table so that we begin believing in one another. How women can change, how we can change and make our voices heard across. What do? We need to use language in the right way to discuss our concerns. How does media portray women? Look at the small things that me annoy me. If it is an advertisement about perfume and what have you, you will see the woman probably half dressed, and that's supposed to be beauty. The way some perfumes are described, seductive, as if we wear these things to seduce anybody. You know, they are for our own, want to feel good about them. So we must begin changing how these discussions, how these things are put across. How do people view women? The language we use. How does media deconstruct women? How does it construct and deconstruct women? We are in those spaces. How can we work around making sure that whatever advertisement is put about a woman or about a man really favors the woman, as opposed to looking at the woman as a weaker one? And then we must be bold about these discussions. I like what the young lady said, that we must start talking to our young ones when they are still young, the reality about issues. Talk to your children. Nowadays, it's not only defilement of the young girls that's taking place, including sodomy. What do you tell the young boys? What do you tell them? What is sodomy? Do you explain what it means, what it entails? And sometimes it is not only use of the male organ, it is also use of anything. The law has also appreciated that any other instrument that can be inserted is a use. So you need to let the child know and understand their own body. We leave our children to discover themselves outside there. And this conversation needs to be real. We have been shying away, especially when someone wants to introduce like a reproductive health rights issue, and somebody said, we will be teaching the young ones. They already know, and they know the wrong things. Why don't you teach them the right things? Because they already know. They are already engaging in sexual activities at a tender age, but they are doing it the wrong way. They already know. Do you want them to know what the world is offering, or do we want to teach them the right thing? I think within our own spaces as mothers, we can do that. If we are opposed to them being taught in school, we can teach them at home, isn't it? And the young boys, we can be able to talk about it. I like the challenge Dr. Rose has brought about our challenge and the realities on the ground. And she has pointed out, like in the academia, you want to read, you want to move on. How many of those of you who are doctors, how many other people have you mentored? Have you gotten hold of and told them how you did it? Because it was not a walk in the park for yourself. The struggles were there. The reality was there. Some of you are doing it when you have children, you have a family to take care of, you are the daughter in the family who does ABCD, in your family as the daughter, you are the wife, you are the sister, you are the daughter-in-law, and you did it. So, and you are the major caregiver in the home. And you are studying, and that studying is not also sometimes not making sense to your spouse. You even look like you are challenging him, yet you feel you want to grow in your career. It was not easy. So what have you done in your own spaces to just get hold of one person and ask them, I want to move with you, I want you to do ABC. I know that in my own space, I got ladies to go and do masters. One of them, I ended up shopping for her house for the 3 months she would be away. And I told her all the difficult things, including she had a small baby. The good thing about that institution is you would go with your small baby. But then again, I told her the challenges would be there. You'd rather live with somebody who knows how to take care of the child back in Kenya, as opposed to moving with the child there, because those people will not do the same things the way we do it here. Their labor laws are different. I paid for her, I did for her the application, literally, the 500 words or 1,000 words, why you want to do that course. I literally did it for her. I literally got her off and forced her to go and study. Now she's also a lecturer somewhere. I won't say the university because you might just know. So I literally did the application. I literally bought for her food and forced her and told her, you know, you're talking about your child. If you remain here and the Lord wants to take that child, you will not do anything to stop. If you go there and the Lord wants to take the child, you will not do anything to stop. So go and read and come back and tell me you now have money to take care of your children, because practice wasn't also doing very well for her. So really, we need to encourage each other within our space. So you look at the university here. What if we had women as at the leadership? You know, we don't have a woman. Looking at vice chancellor, DVCs, registrars, there's no woman absolutely. There's none. What if we had women there? In other institutions, those spaces are there. A creche, a place where women can breastfeed their children. So you come and work, you go back to breastfeed the child. If we have young girls who are mothers, they have that space where they can change diapers for the children. Look at our own washrooms. Are they friendly even for women? Are the architects taking care of women's specific needs when we talk about toilets? I argue gender from everything, from every perspective. When we have 5 toilets for men, let's not have 5 toilets for women. Women's specific needs for toilets are enormous. So that's why we need our ladies to take up the professorship and move to those spaces, because you will be able to understand. You will not argue from a point of we are encouraging young girls to get children. Even if we don't encourage them, they will get children. Okay, now that we have the problem with us, how do we deal with it? That is the conversation. So I still challenge us to really go out and occupy these spaces without fear. Dr. Anubu, I'm looking forward to you being a VC someday, BBC, and putting in place this place without fear.
Watch this space.
Yes. Dr. Rose, Dr. Rose, we need you to people to occupy these spaces so that you bring these things on the table without fear, because you understand. You know, the way you understand this issue is not the way men understand it. The way you understand what a lactating mother is going through at that moment when she must breastfeed her child, even for the 10, 15 minutes and go back to class, the man will not understand. So we need all of us to occupy these spaces. We need to change. And when we look at advertisements on TV, we don't just look at them and keep quiet. Those of you who can write something about it, write and say, make the world know we are not amused when you portray women in a demeaning manner. We are not amused. That's the way the conversation should go. Thank you. I don't know whether there's anybody's answer that remains.
Yeah. I said we are free to add to what just responded to. So let's go very fast.
Okay. So for me, I would like to just hang on to what Dr. Teno was talking about, and talking about the issues that are crippling us in the university. We have lactating mothers and all that. But there's this new phenomenon that nobody is talking about. It's a taboo phenomenon. We are talking about people who are not biologically women, but identify as women, yet they could be from a different orientation. So the homosexuals, the lesbians, the gays, the transgenders in the university. Those are things that are there, but it's sort of taboo to speak about it because we've been taught to shh, and we are Kenyan, so Kenyans do not speak about these things. These things are not here. they're in other universities. So how are we dealing with such conversations? Are we open enough to speak about them? When we meet perhaps Dr. Walugwa, how do I treat her? You know, and here is Madam Nyongesa with, I know she's a female. So how do we have like sensitive spaces for these areas, you know, like bathrooms or I don't know, spaces that we can actually come out in the open? I guess such spaces. So these are taboo subjects, but how are we addressing them? We're in a learning institution, so we need to be open about it. So I'm throwing that to the floor.
Thank you so much. I think my take will be that's one area that's coming up, even in churches. An area to accept the marginalized. Actually, they are called key populations. The people who practice homosexuality, lesbianism. It is not our duty to condemn them. It is a space they have chosen. But the fact that they are human beings, they are covered by the universal human rights laws that cover everyone. So that declaration of the human rights cover everyone with their orientations for the areas that they desire to occupy. Bring that up because we are well aware that we have even students who practice that. We are aware. So we need to, not to introduce anyone, but to have people be aware and treat them in a way that dignifies them. I wish to comment on what Dr. Ross asked about the struggle to become what? Even rising in the ranks. Yet you're a woman and you have the other baggage that brings you back. I just want to say that in the UN flagship project that is running now, it's a campaign against, it's called Flagship Generation Equality Campaign. Flagship Generation Equality Campaign. That campaign is going on. And one of its tenets is equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work. So if we are doing the work, we sawa. If kama si kulipwa, let it be shared. But that conversation, by the time it gets here, see kesho, let us start thinking. Someone said, I was in a conference in Nigeria, and someone said, women, if you want to rise in academia, if they required 5 papers, please go for 10. Because the men will sit and discredit your papers. You know that. Are you getting? So come with 10. If you have 10, they will have no reason, they will even be shy. And by being shy, they will have done what? Past you. So know that your burden is even greater. While we deal with this from the legal framework, let us also, God has given women greater grace. The greater grace is that you can be able to take a little time, do that paper which a man is going to take 3 days, you might take 1 day to achieve it. As the other frameworks are going on, let us also go an extra mile. We are able to multitask, although people are questioning multitasking, that multitasking, use it efficiently and effectively. You will move steps. But this is what we are seeing now. If there are 10 women that are going to sit in a panel and they are discussing issues of 2 people to go for a trip, please fight for a woman, even when you know the woman has no capacity. what I am, they are developing your capacity. So that's what we are saying. In the levels where we operate, even if we are not in management, management comes in levels. The level where you are, why don't we try so and so? One of the people for juicing and the aluminum, you will not. By doing so, let another woman who is there also say, I think that is a good choice. You know, but we go there and keep quiet, then the name is thrown to the dustbin. That is how we can start operating. If we are choosing CODs in a department, although we are running from those, because now no one wants, there are greater roles that one may want. But even when you are there, let us also learn, if you have been given responsibility, learn to delegate. Even when you want to be efficient, let us delegate. Of the many things Grace has responded to, is there any that you feel that we need to add a point so that we move from here? And even as we speak this, the students who are there, men and men teachers are the issues that you have. Please work out of that. You don't have to graduate from here. Don't allow yourself to be stepped on. There are spaces to discuss that. Now discuss it. Here, I am in class, but there is this lecture. Hakuna kitu kitatendeka, atatolewa na mwingine awekwa afunze hiyo for your sake. But we know, we look at it, oh, how will it be? How about my marks? I can give you a case for free in this university. Because that is, I think, what Dr. Bruce wanted us to come to. You know, practicality of the issues that affect us. One time, there is this lecture, friend of mine. And I'm wanafunzi. These 2 units, you can book. Until you sing my song. Sasa msichana, she was befriended to, she had a boyfriend and living in the boyfriend. And she started counting, how does this go in this era of AIDS? What do I do? Then the conversation went on and said, mwalimu lakini nilianguka ama nikutaka kunitesa. Akamwambia, you failed, but I have the capacity to add your marks to a B. So, wakapanga date. Maybe my colleagues know the story. I'm using it only for illustration. Wakapanga akasema, okay. Sasa ulikuwa unatakaje? One of the rooms in this town. How many minutes? 10 minutes. Meet me there. The guy took a bold step and walked to a higher office and said, I'm going through. Yeah. And they said, so how it is? How is it? And she was told, can you play the tape? Say, so mwalimu sasa umefika, nikupata wapi? Akajibu. And that was evidence. Do not allow yourself to mistake. Of course, I don't want to say what happened after that, but that was a bold step, and we are asking you. These issues of marks and lecturers, I don't hear it with female teachers and young boys. Why? Can't you say no? Even if you fail, you only pay 3,000 and you repeat, you can repeat with a different lecturer. But why bring the case forward? Report. There should be a gender desk and report your issue there. You have a student welfare department. Go there and report your issues. If they are the ones, there is a higher office. Leadership is in these stages. Move to the next one. I think there is so much to say about this. If there is no one else, yes, Teacher Lydia,
Thank you. I don't want to go home with these thoughts. Please bring it just a comment. I don't know what has been answered. Lydia Kitombo, Washington Sense. When I was coming, I just felt like a mother. And our kids were going to school. And I'm looking by the roadside, neglected children, and we are the mothers. So if I love children like in Kisii go to school barefoot, their clothes are torn, they have no buttons, they're exposed up to there. I can't imagine maybe they don't even have a panty. But we are the mothers, and we are the leading mothers. So what is our role in putting expectations on motherhood in Kenya? So that, and then you find also children, we are raising a society that is very stressed, very, what do you say, they have no self-esteem, they are not confident. They, so they have no, they're just going, boys and girls, all of them. So we're the mothers. We're the ones who can change the society. And once we change, we are the origin of life in this country. When we change the child to love themselves, to respect others, you treat them with decency, you avail for them the shoes, the pads, the dressing. Because you find a mother is dressed well, she has a shoe, but the child is going to school barefoot. I don't get that concept. Now, I keep on thinking of the toilets in school. That child goes barefoot, it was very wet toilets. I think as leading mothers in society, we should now put expectations, I don't know, the legal system, that requires motherhood, even fatherhood, yeah, but it starts with motherhood, to take care of the child, the physical needs of the child, the emotional needs of the child. I don't know how that can be, yeah? So that at least we raise a society that women, girls that are very confident, bold, that will impart better, will raise better children in their time. What else do I want to mention? I think that's it, yeah. So I want to know how, and then the other part is, so our motherhood should be planned. What is that? How accessible is family planning? Yeah. These children just get children. Do they plan? No. But if they had access to family planning, how accessible is it now? It was accessible, very accessible in our time. Right now, to get family planning is very difficult, or it's expensive, or you have so many questions to answer, or it's not advertised. I don't know, it's not easily, the kids don't easily access it, I'm not very sure, but I think because we want women who can plan motherhood, who can plan to have a child, so that they can plan to take care of that child, even when the father is absent. But these are my thoughts.
Dr. Nyanga, you are on the spot. Start thinking about what to say. When you say what you have to say, please think about family planning. Family planning was for 100 people in our team. It has become imperative that it must be brought in. Dr. Nyanga, please, you will chip in at your appropriate time. And let me run away from that to the right person. As we discuss these things, remember, our spaces have been flooded terribly, but they have been compounded more by COVID-19. Please think about it as we keep discussing. My colleague, Dr. Stella, crown this session.
Can I say something about, I don't know that the doctor is going to respond to her concern.
No, just going to.
Okay, can I say something about?
Please do.
Okay, thank you very much. Today our focus was on leadership, so apparently we didn't go too much in the very important issues you're raising, but we're talking about reproductive health rights. That would be another topic that Terry can organize another day. We have discussions about reproductive health rights issues in Kenya. We have, of course, adopted some of the international instruments like the protocol, the Women's Protocol to the ACHPR, working with reservation on certain section. That is a discussion that we can have. Again, it is a discussion on its own. But on terms of legal framework on care for children, the legal framework is there. Right from the Constitution to the Children's Act, it is there. And on issues of access to family planning, again, when we talk about the reproductive health issues, that again refers to, I think it's the right, the people don't have the right information or access to the information concerning these things. They are there. And on reproductive health rights, you're raising a very important issue. One day I was standing in Nakuru at the Easy Coach, you know where Easy Coach stops. There is a chemist there, a 24-hour chemist. And I was talking to the lady at the chemist because that's where I buy drugs and then take the bus for my mother. And a lady came, a very decent lady, and she asked, I'm looking for people. We all know what people is, isn't it? Boldly. And I thought, wow, these are some things that this lady should ask quietly. But she just asked loudly. I didn't know what the lady responded, Zimeisha. So I asked her, after she went, I asked this lady who's on the checking, how can you not stop such important things for such a lady who can ask boldly the other people there and she's not worried? Then she told me, hizo vitu zilinunuliwa na wanafunzi bila wanafunzi shule. It was open instead, and they call them chocolate. You know, these things are destructive to the child because it's like a small tiny thing. It destroys the child, and the child does not know. And they have got 3, 4 of them going back to school. So what level of destruction is this child engaging in? We need to have these conversations. We are keeping quiet, but the children are messing themselves up big time. Small children or university. Now in other countries, this is not something you buy on the counter. It's a prescribed product. But here you can buy on the counter. So we need to have the knowledge of this so that in our very other spaces we also agitate. And the guy also talked about women's work not being valued or their contribution to family. Again, that's another topic for another day. Consider us going through the family laws, the matrimonial property. I would be glad to speak to ladies about it because I participated in that. In fact, I think we're just two practicing lawyers working around that. I was fortunate, blessed to be part of the team that worked on those bills until we became law. So it is again another conversation so that women can understand what is our contribution to matrimonial property. What is matrimonial property? How do we contribute? Did we give money? Did we supervise the work? Did we contribute towards the painting and anything? Did we take loans and buy this property? It was registered in the man's name and now we have been locked out. We need to have this conversation. So thank you very much.
50-50. Thank you so much. Now, I wish to migrate. Oh, I migrate.
I just wanted to add, could it be the access to Planned Parenthood? You know, there was a time it was really being given donor support. And now, did it stop being a priority for our government when the donors pulled out from that sector? Do our people have to suffer? What is the role of government in making sure that they carry on programs once the donor has left? Because the people who are suffering because the donor pulled out of funding are the individuals, so people are doing anything. P2 becomes a normal contraceptive. So I think maybe that's something also you can tell us from the legal perspective. How can we activate that space? That the government should not just carry a project up to donor funding. Look at what happened to HIV and AIDS. When Global Fund wanted to withdraw, there was a serious problem. So there's something, and the women suffer the greater brunt of these things when they are withdrawn or the donor stops and the government also pulls back. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you so much. I think we also have an issue, even when in our own communities. During discussions, the MCA comes up with a project. We never raise an issue like this because we are never in their meetings. So they think about roads, they think about rivers, they are not thinking about the human capital. So we need to
They don't even involve women in discussion about
We don't know,
roads.
yeah.
The ones who also need those roads.
Now you see, I think this has been very good and I want to take
And then this, you can do so much in your spaces. I'll be able one day to share what I have done in my own space as an individual in terms of even helping children. In my own space, I have I have mobilized alumni of my primary school, high school, so that to help the young people. I participate in our other organization, the Federation of Women Lawyers. We have a Western Jurist Forum where again we donate books, pads, handies, and what have you, we take to students. So you can do something. And next year, I think when we have such a forum, we can give some small donation and take to women in prison, take to choose a school here. We will not miss a school here where we can do some impact.
Madam President, there are several days in the course of the year.
Thank you.
Day of the African Child,
Thank you.
the International Day for the Girl Child. There are many days, 16 days, 16, 1, 2, 3, 16 days of activism. There are too many. There are too many. We shall not wait for next year, 2022.
Thank you.
After all, 2022 is for other people.
Thank you.
Yes, this moment, another high moment. Our meeting, I think our workshop is going higher and higher. Dr. Nyanga. Free, work strategically. And as she comes, please look at us. Africa, please. Yes, take this space. You have only 20 minutes and a lot of minutes to discuss, and 40 other minutes, 20 other minutes of discussion. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'll do this for you.
Yes, Madam Hina. Good morning, almost afternoon, ladies. How are you, ladies? I am so sorry I'm late, but I don't know. When you are at Kimini like me, you just get these calls in the night, when you try to go here, and they're all important. So today has been an easy day. It's one of my utmost favorites. If you follow me on social media, I just get excited. Because it's a chance, I love my mom, because I celebrate. Oh, you want to see my mom? Okay. I want to give an example. No, go back that way. But I love all these spaces. I love calling me. I have different persona. I am Jackie, the woman, your colleague. I am Dr. Nyanga, Panichi. When it's Dr. Nyanga, she's an week. Tunaangalia mbele, close mind. But when I'm Jackie, I am everything. I call myself, I'm all woman. One thing I have to say as we start this, you should always preach to yourself before you preach. You have talked about not being another woman's enemy, owning spaces, donating. Imeanza na wewe. Wanasema peleleza moyo wako. There is no way you're going to convince anyone to listen to you or to reform towards what you're taking us to or your agenda if it doesn't start with you. We will listen to you and dismiss. The change starts with you. We are not feminists here who say, oh, that's my choice, my Lord. No. We are women here acknowledging there's a very big gap. Tremendous gap in the spaces of women in leadership that we need to reach. Right now, if I call a meeting of all subordinate staff of Kisii University, 75% will be women. As we go higher, the curve becomes smaller. Yeah. Do you know women are ended here? If I go to council right now where managers are seated, you will find one woman with a title acting. Maybe we are not sure about you. I usually ask questions. Does it mean that among all these, my elder sisters are all here? Me, I'm not yet ready to be this. And there are things you want when you're 40 and above. You know, when you can step down like Grace and Rhoda and Rose here and Stella. You don't have anything. You can even tell them, I'm going to a council retreat for 1 week. No baby to cry in the background. But the question is, I get very worried. I ask myself, I have 5 years to vote. I found Stella here, ready to be a registrar. She's not yet one. Will she ever be there so that she moves to become a registrar? No, become a blog and fight. I'm worried, Jackie, my namesake. I'm very worried. I came here in my 20s like, why not? Let us enjoy this grade 12. But now I'm getting to a point, After I said, I need another car. But my papers are there, and I'm told alongside others. While I am a doctor who came, wakati alikuwa medical school, I was already practicing. Here in the university, not in another place. And they come and they're anafikia na anaendelea. Why? Because he knows how to hustle. So, is it that we've gone to class and learn the books, but we don't have street marks? Or is just that we're not being given equal opportunities? For example, if I take my CV for review and they block my name and he takes his. Him, by the time you're going for the interview, him already knows the letter is ready, they're just waiting for a signature. You will be told what? She posts too much on social media. I don't like her purple lipstick. I don't like sijui how. Akona tumbo kubwa na ni daktari. She used to lose weight. She's very harsh. She has mood swings. She gives birth every year. You know, you remember the things we are told? Yeah. Bwana yake hawezi kubali akuje mkutano. What defines you? And let me tell you, my young sisters down there, if we don't create an environment for you, all you're doing is going to end up at some point. You'll ask yourself, did I go to school only to end up here? Because at some point, school stops mattering. And that's why we insisted you come to this thing. Right now, we're telling you, get your degree. As in the next 10 years, you will have all of them, 3 or even 4. Even now, after PhD, go to somewhere, even get another MBA. But you realize there are no spaces. The situation is not about to change. It is not. Me, what I advise, be in judge. Me, I exist in other spaces where I'm highly acknowledged. Might not be in this room here. All room does not acknowledge me. I exist in places where I'm acknowledged. I take my things to the governor, he appoints me to the board. I sit down and pay 10K. Unapologetically. Because here, no one will give me that chance. And my friend, I have serious bills to pay. If I give you my pay slip, the loan I have in court, someone needs to clear it. So you cannot keep me pending here, not giving me the space to be there. So what am I telling you, my sisters? Don't cry here. You will cry till the ends of the earth. If Kinasela have cried, and cried, and cried, let this be our anchor, where you stay. But come and Mbuzi, circumvent Mama. And they don't. Remember, to look good, to feel good, you need money. That talent you have, that hustle you have, make your own money. Your teachers told us when T. Coopets and Nats became an issue, they were told, my friend, salary time of years. Now, the hours you are sending in the university or wherever you teach, when you are done with them, stop going to social media, kill money, waste time there. Let me find you in a conference as a keynote speaker. Is that the Jacqueline news? Because here, it is highly unlikely going to change. We have a long way to go. So, now we are back to women and health. Yeah, my feminists, I have to talk about food. Take care of yourselves, ladies. There are issues that just unique to us, like heart disease and cardiovascular. You see all this that is making us sleepless. We are not even fitting in this. It's very nicely. It's called estrogen. Very dangerous. It's what makes you fertile, makes you good and warm and everything, and cuddly and cushy. What men like about us. But remember, it has its effects. You might be here. You find me and say, I have the same cholesterol levels. She's my client, I'll tell you. Yes, we have my mission. Because her cholesterol is all so when we say one day you were walking and you hear Dr. Nyanga was with me, then she collapsed. Ladies, let's take care of ourselves. Annual checkups are very important, especially as we turn 30. When the body slows down, you're not burning things the way you did. You, in the next 2 years, 25, you just realize things are not the way they were. You just feel it. Unakula kidogo kama kuku, but things are just happening. Kidogo, you're not digesting food. Kidogo, you're having stupid problems with your bones, your back, your what. That is all estrogen at play. Instead of explain, and it will slow you down. So you will miss a meeting for once with the two of you, my dear sisters, and her, and they'll say, Nini, siniliwambia shida za mama. Yet you're in pain. God forbid, you're having very painful menses. You can't even walk with just a pad, shoe clothes. And it's something you cannot share. But men will say, what? Amezoea. That's what I'm saying. Ukifanya mkutano 30th, 28 to 21st, Jack is with the mkutano. Hiyo time ananyesha. They even monitor you to become your armor. So please, ladies, because of our bodies, we need to fight it and predetermine it. An annual checkup is very important. Head to toe exam. We need to learn to examine our breasts. We need to learn to examine our breasts to know what's happening, because this is the biggest killer we have. Beautiful as they are the source of life. At some point, they become killers. And we have seen people as young as 28 dying of breast cancer. Remember, it's about the BRCA gene. So if it's in your family, your mother had it, your grandmother had it, your aunties, chances are that you have it. Unless we go remove the boobs, they just keep them out mastectomy, chances are that you have it. So please examine. And when you find a lump, don't panic. Come to us. We will guide you the right way. Talk to people, the right people. You know one thing about this university I find amazing. We diagnose someone with a disease. Let's say you have fibroids. The next time the story where you hear it, pray for Dr. Jacqueline Nyanga. She has fibroids. I don't know, Grace, what you tell us about on social media. Don't you find it that funny? Someone is unwell, a health issue. Before even the people can handle it, some person has just posted it on social media. And you forget, my goodness. And you know I'm always blamed because I'm the person with your information. No sooner had. Ni ukweli matiti yake iko na kansa. Ni ukweli ako na ukimwi. Ni ukweli ako na hii. Anazaleka kansa. It is very wrong. Can we be careful who we tell our information? Me, I always tell people, tell the person who's going to pay your bills. For me, I tell him, if I feel we need to add your money, I will tell the registrar, I will tell the DVC and the VC. And I always give them a disclaimer. Nikisikia story imetoka nje tuende kotini nitawaita nyinyi wote. But by the value that you are saying it's university pays your bill. For example, we might need 200,000. You think if I write a letter and say Jackie has a condition, please treat her. Give us 200,000. They'll tell me this is nonsense. Give us a medical report. Even insurance that works. But now I call a congamon of my clinical officer, now I go below, I call the nurses, I call whoever, the neighbors. Yeah, can you now discuss? Is that even right? No. Leo communication where? Me one day, in February last year, I was in hospital for a week. And I felt so bad because I could see my name everywhere on social media being discussed. I did not ask anyone to pay my bill. The university was paying. I didn't tell anyone I didn't ask anyone for prayers. My family are enough. For family, almost 500 people that are paying for me. Is this any more people? Why plaster people's names all over? And when I call you, I tell you now, kuja donate damu tupe mgonjwa. They never show up. So please, matters health are as confidential as possible. Tell the right person. Because the problem is you have no problem getting sympathy, but not everyone here is your friend. The day you hear let me not call it before, talking the story and concocting it to something else, you'll be very offended. But the day we are telling you, patients like sympathy. So they're like, oh, we're so sorry, it's okay. But the day someone will say, I don't think she should be given an operation. You start saying, it is you. It is you. Some of you even use proxies to get to us. So I send Dr. Nyamonge, because she's my friend for so many years, all my documents. Then she got in the process, she forwards to another group. In the next day, you find your things being discussed, you get offended. Confidentiality is very important. That said, let's go now back to ladies in Kwapa. Urinary tract infections. Mnaona venye tu umevaa hii jinsi yako leo. Unajua sisi kwa nini hatuwezi hizo vitu? We should read like this. We are very nice. We learn that the hard way. You see those jeans you people wear the whole day. So when you have 7 o'clock class, let me put an event, training, class, when was it what? 8 o'clock. Why? Tight is given. How hardly anything? No. God forbid. And you are still in that party. Because you're living in a bed, sit in a bathroom going to the sit there. Then your man comes in the evening, sit there. You have intercourse because we are all adults here. We're talking as women. My friend, in the morning, you will not be able to pee because your normal bacteria and you hit your then something presses on it, introduces. So you ask me, UTI is not an STI, yes, but the male penis is a very big contributing factor. I had you in Sana call things by their names. Yes, the phallus of a man, it can be as dangerous as they can. You don't know where he has been. The whole day, nyinyi mnashikana tu hivyo, jasho yake yako, then you come all to sudden, kila saa, mami UTI, daktari UTI, mimi sikoni UTI. When I test you, STIs, the reality. I will tell you for free. The men you see are the same. Ask here, them there. We are all in one big circle. Sexual circle. We might as well be sexual partners. Because you shall meet my husband in the club. You don't know he's my husband. Ajadi Papa Dr. Liana's husband, Danny's husband. Even if you know, Simemalizana for 7 C's, whatever C's. He comes home, I sleep with him. Me here, Kumbe, after this, I'm saying at lunch, they went to a hotel somewhere for a nice sleep. And I sleep with another man. Iwo. The day now we construct a very bad disease. We are all in one basket. The first cases of COVID in Nairobi were basically sexually transmitted. You find a CEO in an office in Apari. Amepeleka COVID to his girlfriend in Buruburu, who was given his ule barobaro, wanaitwa ama chuma. Now the man who pounds an ice cream in Kawangwani, who was given your house girl in Kare. My friend, he just becomes hey, that is the reality. Whosoever enters you without protection, mami, ichunge sana. We understand what he says is not valid. The things we see, do it because you have to. Yani niliyaka nisema leo lazima nisimume. But for you young ladies, if I were you, knowing what I know now, I would just abstain. Nevertheless, the options are there in case you want to be sexually active. And from the age of 15, come to us. On your own, you don't need your parents. We have a policy, national policy, enabling this ahead. Just walk in and tell me that I am sexually active, I will give you my options. And none of them will be happy to. In fact, like all mature men like us say P2s. We have estrogen names say P2s. You hear? Ati alikuwa anatembea hivi, hata ananga weight, akapata heart attack. But hana weight ndio, but P2 zimejaa kwa mwili. I think what tablet of P2 has 1,000 times more estrogen than the pills. You remember when you used to do pills? Yes. Yani that thing, it was bad. Let me tell you now for free, as my sisters. Unakauka huko chini, unapata kadistance kanaka sijui aje because it throws your system into disarray. Hormones are bad. You see, you already have hormones, then you're introducing artificial ones. So they throw your body. Now you can imagine 1,000 times that. It just misleads your body to start. Imagine the sperm in which Africa can start to fertilize eggs. Then something that makes you not conceive. Don't you think that is a miracle? Why should you use it? It's an emergency pill for rape. We have reserved it there at Apalachini for only rape cases, which we could not help it. Umepatikana. Any other time you feel like you are a person of accidents, married women, what do we do? My husband is in Nakuru or Mombasa, so we meet every once a month or every 3 months. So you want to feel leader, then that time he comes, you take a pill. You will get pregnant, you will get DVT, and you know that you leave your small kids, you live this beautiful life. The way you guys are looking so nice today, of unnecessary things. Ladies, if we don't take care of our health, our issues are not like men. Men worry about road traffic accident, kudua kisu kwa back. You know, that's more like injuries. But our issues are so biological that if you don't take care of yourself, anybody who's been my client here, and actually nikipata unadunga sijui masindano mimi, I tell you no for pills. If you really have to, in marriage we tell people wear a coil. And when you're using a coil, make sure you have only one sexual partner. Changanya mavins. Huyu anakuja na zake, huyu anakuja na zake. We will actually have to clean that uterus of past. Because it's copper, it's a foreign body, come amoeba, then you are busy introducing different things. So if you know you are still unsettled, and we are now, because I also believe sexual energy is good, makes people happy, you know. That or maybe ukuchapa alama or swim. At least something that keeps your endorphins high. So I advocate, just use a condom. Please. When all else fails, just use a condom. And imagine it doesn't change anything. Remember, a woman is such a wide, sexually, whole muscles, fluids, secretions. Imagine on the in and out, severally. What are you exposing yourselves to? You look at yourself after the act. When the two diangalia is doing that, you will not like what your miss, whatever will be looking like. You will not like it. It is not a pretty set. She's dematous, she's purple, she's red, she's any color, depending on the pounding she's gotten. And that's how we get even HIV. Because at that particular time, there's even bruises, depending on how forceful they are. Yet you sleep with men. Sasa, unataka tusaidianaje? We have plastic ones, we don't do the metal ones, and we give options. Everyone will tell you here, if you don't want our nurses to do it for me, that is one referral I'll always advise. I will tell me now who is your best gynecologist. Hata kama kwa Mombasa, I will send you there. They just examine and give you a report of your cervix. Because no condom in the world can prevent human papillomavirus. It's so tiny. It goes through anything. So anyone who's sexually active, we've been exposed to it at that point. Remember, who gets HPV? Someone who started having sex early, someone who gave birth early, and by early is below 15 years. Someone who has multiple partners, someone who has a partner with multiple partners. After all those fights, you know what you mix. Is there someone who is not a risk factor in those fights? Especially the last one, someone who has multiple. And what is multiple? More than one. So if you have ever caught your man cheating, you are a second wife or have a co-wife, you have a risk of cervical cancer. Unless in this world, he has only had you, which is impossible, because all of us want to experience men. We don't want someone to teach things to. Think about it. We are all at risk. So please, ladies, every 3 years, get your cervix checked. If you're HIV positive, everyone sign up. Cervical cancer kills and kills horribly. When you get it, you will not even be able to sit at work, because you can see the cervix in a kama tunyama. The radiotherapy there, my friend, they make you sit on it like this apart. Basically, cervical cancer is the death of women. That's you find the men of widows and men who have women suffering from cervical cancer, they move out. Because you can no longer do anything there. It's a down here. It eats the cervix, it eats half of the third of the upper vagina out, the walls. Everything that makes sex good, it all goes. At least that's stage 2 to 3. So please, this is breast cancer. First, to learn how to examine our breasts. Now, in their 30s start losing weight in their 40s because the estrogen naturally too anaanza kuwa mwembamba with loose skin because the estrogen is going away, the fat is going away. So it gets a bit less dense. So it's more of skin, a bit of fiber. Now, at those different stages, you need to examine your breasts. In your 20s, what you might likely find is a fibrous, benign tissue. But that means you have a lot of estrogen in your body. So much of it that it causes cells to proliferate. I worry about such young girls because they also get fibroids. And you know the uterus is the home of the babies. If you get a fibroid that blocks the sperm, infertility. If you get a big fibroid, back pain. If you get a big fibroid, no space for the baby to be implanted. That's why we really worry about girls in their 20s and any breast mass. So mothers here, we see it a lot in 16 to 22. And at 30 to 2, it might be called harmless, we take it for biopsy, it's nothing. But that just shows this girl is on a hyperestrogenic state. She has too much and she might likely not have the right estrogen to be conducive to their man. I can tell you for free, that's all we aim to as we grow up as girls. Although we have people who don't have children out of choice, but naturally that is what we hope for. We want at least to have the option to choose whether you want to have children or not. Not to be told you cannot have a child. So we be careful about such things, young girls. Don't dismiss ukisikia. Then the thing about in your 20s, in a toroka, you feel it today is here, touch it goes. It is not stagnant. Now let's go to our 30s, where now the breast cancer issues come about. When you're starting your examination, after your menses, everything is relaxed, maybe in the evening, but the sun should be there. Don't use the artificial lights. Full size mirror, mwanamke ni kioo. Please invest in a full size mirror so that you're able to tell what is happening with your skin. Maybe you're developing early skin cancer. Know your body. Don't expect a man to know just because he's a user. He is interested in the black part and the nipple is that. Where the cancer is with the collarbone, he doesn't care. Now, as we're doing this, remove this garden. I was trying to read the card coordinate. Now, this is your boob, bro. And you will get to that man here. I was even going to audition you. Now, you look at your nipples. Nipples can be anywhere. So that's okay. As long as on the same plane, no problem, right? What is square or chinny, but some people have bigger boobs than the other, but know your body. Now from there, look at the skin. Is there reddening? Is there changing to look like an orange or deep blue? Is there a place in a vertica on our side? Just take a look. So that if a doctor asks you, is this how your breasts are? No, don't say, know your breasts. I joke with Stella and tell her, the purple shade of your lipstick is the color of your nipple. She really laughed, but it's true. That's it. No, the color of your nipple. So that if I give you a shade here of lipstick, you can tell me that's the color of your nipple. If you don't know, then you don't examine your breasts. Number 2, after you look at all that, now I want you to raise your hands. Unaziweka hapa kwa hips. What we are doing here is let's stand. Can we stand? Yes, I know the men can go outside. One out of 4 cases of breast cancer. Now, when you do this, you're forming abdos. Breast again because the pectoralis later. So umefarm breast. So it's a inua. If you normally your breast will go high because of the shoulder muscles and chest. If you have a problem, the breast must it back in a hand. So that is a telltale sign. That is a telltale sign. Now from there on, you want to see further movement. You do this. What were yoga? Your hands clap. Now you have tete kabisa. Now your breasts are back to where they were when you were 20. Are you seeing that? Yes. Now from there on, you're still observing whether your breast in a vertica or there's anything, right? Now from there on, hands now down. Now imagine you are lying on your bed. Melala. Then you put your, you want to examine, this is my left. Put your left hand behind your back. I'm at Kisii. Let me illustrate. Then you take your upper part of the hand, easy vidole tatu hizi. Ya kanu ongeza moja. Then here, the parts, not the tips, the parts here. Here, then you put here. Now divide your breasts into 4. And then add 5 kwenda huku kwa mapapa na clavicle. Now start. You see this place here? Hapa. For those nice people who have clavicles, eh? Yeah. Start here and feel if you're feeling pain. From here the neck, just feel if you're feeling any pain. Because these are the lymph nodes where breast cancer starts. Start there. There's nothing. Then come down, go to your armpits. That's why they need to be clean and not hairy, so that it's unasikia wenye wanacheka. My colleagues are not laughing. You students, you start to go for corner. Oh, there's one, there's another group here, there's another group down, then in the middle. Then now come. Now you're following, right? Okay, for us with big lips. Now that you're following, now let's go to go in different pressures. Taka usikie umefinya chest yako. You know that utasikia ka discomfort ujue umeshika muscle. You know breast is not a muscle. Unasikia hiyo nyama? Tuendelee clockwise, 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 clockwise. Hii time unainua unaangalia clockwise, you lift. If you need extra support, lift. Go, go, go. Now, every time you're going nearer and nearer inside. You go, tuendele, unanyosha fika. Then finally you get to your knee. Now at your nipple, you also do the same. And you still the same. If you have extremely blessed mammary glands, itabidi sasa umerudi kwa kioo uinue tu uone kama kuna kitu hapa. Brasa zingine inakata. And so you might be breast cancer and you're thinking, what? Wow. So you lift. You can even use a mirror and check, but sometimes we are not able to see. Is it? Are we together up to there? Yes. Let's have a seat. So what is the abnormal thing you find in your breast? Because some of you will come running for number 1, number 2, pain that is not muscular pain, like a pain here, not here, not doing muscle, but some pain that is on the breast, not the muscle, comes from a concern. Abnormal discharge, any skin changes, plaquing, a wound, discharge, reddening, kujikuna sana for breast. Yeah? There's some people who unajikuna breast more than baka ina change color. Inakuwa mzee. Inakaa ringo hivi. Go to hospital. That is disease. Finally, a new trend has come of autoimmune diseases. I don't know if you know someone who suffered from systemic lupus. Yeah. It's a woman's disease. Have you seen a man say, think about it. Yeah, it will always be she. Yes, with the butterfly rash. It is a reality. It is here with us. We have people who are survivors of it. And I think it's something, I've never talked about it in such forums. I think it's something we need to discuss. We need to be cautious. It is your own body fighting itself. And estrogen, wow. Zamani you see it in Indians, white people, but you're seeing it more and more in us blacks. So what you need to look out are issues of majoto zingine uelewi. You're not in menopause, but you always say, kila saa you're sleepless, you know, heat intolerance. Number 2, rashes. Ladies, your skin is meant to be beautiful. Usiseme hii rash inakuwa kawaida. Hapana. Can you investigate before we call it kawaida? Some of the people, like the last case we had, she just imagined it was a rash. Went over the counter, takes steroid in a corner kidogo because it's autoimmune. But later on, when you are almost losing a finger, you realize it's a sign. So your own body is attacking itself. Issues with hypertension, diabetes, always investigate further. Issues na kuchoka kupanda milima. feeling sleepy all the time, you're just not your normal self. Don't dismiss these things and say this is normal. Get a checkup. So, bone pains, back pains, headaches, migraines, take a check. Always check up on yourself. And remember, the highest contributing factor to SLE is our oral contraceptive pills. You see that this scenario, what we're going to do up in 3 months, they don't manifest them out, but they're still in chemists for commercial use. I don't know why. But in the government, ukienda chini utapata ile dawa ilikuwa inakaa white inashikiwa hivi, kuna dungu hapa, very painful. It's no longer there. And you know what it used to do? It makes you not have menses for 3 months. Makes you lose weight or become so big. And even after you stop using it, for your fertility to retain, you can even stay another 3 years. Because it is, yes, because it hides within your fat cells after the lab will soak on your body. We call it sequestering. So we have seen people who use it even 10 years ago, they still have the consequence. Please avoid those things. Don't give your body more hormones than it needs. I will tell you as a woman, I male gynecologists will give you as options, but me as a woman who has been that direction, I will tell you no. Abstain, you will not die. Use condoms, you will not die. Use a coil if you're sure you're able to control your sexual partners. Otherwise, you will come to the return of token of the market museum because the uterus is quite big. So be very careful about pills. You don't know what is lacking. Breast cancer, SLE, DVT, heart disease, name it. Most diseases women die of are flowing like this. When you miss your menses, don't say hallelujah. What does it mean? Unless you are maybe in your mid-40s and you are anticipating menopause. So those 3 years you hear, sometimes you can forget to bypass them. Be cautious. Don't start saying that menopause will put a mapema squeeze at 30. It means that maybe there's a cyst in your ovaries, young ladies. Please come and get it checked because it can be a surgical emergency. And remember, when we remove your ovary, we reduce your fertility by 50%. Na tutapata maybe hiyo ndio ovary yako ya right ilikuwa inafanya kazi yote. Maybe your left one is lazy. We don't know. Then you remove the right one. Then you remain here. We don't invite us for weddings at 3 million. We pack our cars. Then we wait to move. Then you start getting angry at us when we ask you about the move. Then after that, the man does not leave you, but starts having children in the neighborhood. Then when you ask him why he's doing that, he beats you up and then that is violence. All because of things we could prevent. So ladies, please do that. Now finally, I say this. My policy. Gender-based violence is very evident in our lives. It's especially intimate partner violence. And I know one thing that happens is in Amalizia Shakuchapa, he has his way for him, because at that position is when he feels he has power to emasculate. So you are there, you are the recipient. Umetapa the whole night, wengine wanachunwa in a thighs. That's why when I tell you, can we all go for an examination? Down there you say, hey, daktari si leo. You are like, is this the videos? I've already seen videos. No, it's because I'm going to find you huku ndani umechunwa. Yes, these things happen in media. They do, my dear. Now, what I can say is that there's always this difference between men and women. Phenotypically, socially, stereotypically. For me, I always tell women as we walk into marriage, expect anything or humans, young ladies like you. You might find yourself in a situation where a man is the cause of infertility. We've never told women, what should she do? Should she get another husband? Should she outsource? Good question. Should she sit there and let the society keep telling her, remember, a third of the cases are male factors, a third are female factors, the other third are combined. Very good if you have issues. But you'll come in clinic today, like in KTRH, you'll find a woman with so many papers, like for 5 years, you ask, and this man, has he ejaculated in a car? Tuangalie kama sperm yake ni tadpoles, zina swim behind, hazina kichwa, whether some anakwambia hapana, anasema mimi nina watoto huku. How does he know that is? He has gone to his Wakanda and tells him, you know, I have a very useless life. She doesn't shower, she doesn't know how to cook, she doesn't know how to do this, doesn't know how to even dress. Then the day someone tells you, by the way, job when I want to nalala naye, unapata kwa picha ni mtu kama mimi. Nimechapa filters. Utambia nani atisijui kuoga? I'm standing here. Do I smile? So the lies we are told, young ladies, look at them critically. So what happens to this woman, the Wakanda? She gives you what you want. A child. Because she's not in a committed relationship with you, you're not the husband. So ukienda Valentine's weekend for 2 weeks, you think she's waiting for you? She has her main man who doesn't. Then akizaa anaangalia kwa phone book, who looks like the one who can take care of this. In Africa, by the way, I can easily bring my child to husband and say, what a time is in who am going to bring nitamwambia basi. Raymond. See, let's go like then you see my girl, she's so beautiful. And then you give him the one thing he does not have, a child. So Kumbe all along, his mother knows he ever got mumps when he was 5 years old. Mothers always know. Utapata, you have never felt your man's spot on that. You might find a man does not even have spot. Ilibaki kwa tumbo, iko ilisema. How is that person supposed to give you a child? So wewe na degree yako, all the things you do, everything you achieve on this table. Someone just condemns you to a life of ridicule and abuse. And I tell them, though, you just let him. No longer daddy, see you. 1 year in marriage and you're not seeing a child, let's normalize this conversation. 1 year in marriage and you're not seeing a child, na mnaenda hospitali kila mtu. You know, kila mtu ende kivyake, jaribu kuingia. Maybe mwili yangu imekataa sperm yako. Maybe we are not compatible like that. Instead of keeping people together for 10 years, and then you say, Mama, you don't talk.
And then you are punishing the woman, and the man is having his happy day elsewhere.
And his mother just knows very well. That time when you something to make it feel shorter. You see, those are something you need to be very careful about. And that's the conversation I will have with my daughter when she's your age. Nimwambia na hii mtu mmemwangalia vizuri. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, it's been a very good live session, and I'm even pleased to be the one to be moderating for her session. She's my friend. She's much younger than me, but I've learned so much from her. And every time she teaches certain topics, I enjoy sitting down and listening. I learned something new, like today I've learned. I just want to give a recap of what she's talked about. She's talked about confidentiality in your health matters. Don't tell your best friend, because you think your best friend will keep quiet. Your best friend will find a good motionette to give it on to the next person. So just keep it close with the medics. The other thing she's talked about is UTIs. We are one big sexual partner circle. That's the only way I can summarize what she's saying. And since we are one big sexual partner circle, please just try and keep to your point outside the circle. Don't join the big and then there is contraceptions. Contraceptives, contraception. P2, no go. Pills, no. Injection, no. Is that, am I summarizing right?
And she has also talked about health, cervical cancer, breast cancer, and autoimmune diseases. If you ever forget, today is when I learned that autoimmune disease, then I remembered one prominent person who had it, and that's where I ever had it from. I realized she was a woman. So I've also known today that it's actually gender. And then she talked about intimate partner violence, which is something we should know, and normalizing the conversation about infertility. It normally lays heavily to the woman. So now I want to open the floor, but as I open the floor, today is International Women's Day. And I look at it and I was listening, some of you have had the conversation that just came out 3 days or 2 days ago. The wedding of the year, some 3 years back, Meghan Markle. Yeah. Do you know what she's facing right now? And she's royalty. Apparently, she married into royalty. She was not accepted. So while she was expecting her first child, they started asking, how black will the child be? Can you imagine as a woman what she went through? So people are saying, hey, she has walked out, she's taking her man. But luckily for her, she has a man who stood by her side. And even in the interview, he said, I'm disappointed. I still love my dad. It's like, either it is the father who said, they don't say who said those words. But they say, we are proud of the queen, but I am disappointed by my dad. But you can see this woman, she was a woman in her own right in entertainment, but you can see what she's going through with all the exposure to money, but she's still going through that. So the challenges are real for all of us. Have you ever sat down to imagine what Wangari Maathai's life was like? When she was the first, I think she was the first woman PhD in this country. Yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine when she was just taking her papers for the first master's paper? People must have said, now when it got to the PhD, the husband divorced. She was purely divorced on the basis of the PhD paper. And she's one woman I gather a lot of courage from reading her work. So, but she has gone ahead and broken ceilings. Who else has got, apart from Sir Johnson Sirleaf, which other African woman has got the Nobel Prize? But you can see the path she has walked. And today as we sit here, we are women in a normal situation. Have we imagined the women in situations of war, women in conflict, the women in DRC Congo, where their country, not because they chose to be in that country, but they were born there and it's wealthy. Somebody else is taking up arms and using women. They are traded. The warlords exchange women as peace offerings. Why should it be a woman to be offered like a peace offering? So let's not limit it could be our country, the way we are just drumming up, oh, this is our country, and we've fought in Kenya, we've had our conflict, but it has not escalated. But it's like we never learn. We admire Rwanda, but to date, they are still picking dead bodies. So do we want to get there and then we can? Yeah, you go and watch this by the UN envoy who was there in 1994 and was abandoned. The movie is called, it's not Hotel Rwanda. I'll get the name of the movie. But it's still true today that the pain they went through for that, and women bore the brunt of it all. So some things we take them for granted. We celebrate this day, and I like it because you said CEDAW, Convention for Elimination of All Forms of Violence Against Women. All of us should familiarize ourselves with all that and the protocols and the platform for whatever action and all those things. So as we sit here, remember in all areas, we must be able to stand up and challenge the stereotypes against women in leadership. Mwanamke hataweza, they'll be taking care of babies. Stereotypes against women in technology, women do not think, do not do science. Stereotypes of women in gender-based violence, a woman must be beaten to be feel loved. I hate that statement. Why should you think that I am more loved when I'm in pain? And that is what she has just finished with. Somebody pinching all your thighs and making sure you're left with black marks in the name of, and she has finished love. So I don't know what love language that is. Then there is the domestic, the stereotypes against cultural practices. that go against women. That's, you must be able to stand up and challenge them. One of them is a woman must always be in the kitchen cooking for her man. It's a good cultural practice, but will it break the bones of my sons when I teach them how to cook? No. Or you are just expected to leave all that you have to do. We have done it nowadays, but will you leave all you have to do so that you run home to be in time to go and do a cultural practice that is not adding value to you? Enough of my recap. Now, questions or additions to our presenter. I gave you a recap of what she said. Oh yes, Jackie.
Hey, Dr. Jackie.
Yes, my dear.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Now when you're presenting, I almost started feeling all the sicknesses I have. So my question is a very simple question. If I want to book an appointment with you, when can I do? How can I do it? Because I felt a thing on my breast when I was examining. So we're all here. And I'd like to think psychological. It's felt a psychological and hard. And we all felt.
No, more questions. I need to look at the message. Yes.
Jackie, you didn't mention menopause. And another question on, well, something I do talk on menopause, but also about delayed menopause. Are there challenges in delayed menopause?
Challenges of menopause, delayed menopause, and then there is how we get an appointment with her. And when we are waiting for people to think, you're also scared, don't ask any questions on that. Our learned, but I'm not learned.
Dr. Jackie, thanks so much for the energy in presenting what you were presenting. It was really nice. Everything sounds, we almost thought we have no questions. But you've given us very good advice to have the medical checkup. What is the average cost so that people can be able to know an average cost and which facility would still then give a reasonable cost and still do the right checkup?
Yes, there's a form question.
Thank you, Dr. for the nice presentation. Not really a question, but maybe as you respond, you could say something about emotional abuse. People may not be going through physical abuse, but maybe there is a lot of emotional abuse.
Okay, emotional abuse. Lilian, then question about Doc.
Thank you, Dr. I think it's my first time to see you. Yeah. But I may have seen you somewhere, but I've not been to your office down there. Because I think your office is a bit mysterious to many people, me being one of them. Like, what are the procedures for me to get treated there? And supposing I fall ill when I'm because from the stories I hear, and I'm sorry for that, from the list goes around, it's like it's very difficult to be treated here and even to be referred to a hospital of your choice. So maybe you can demystify that, Dr. Yeah.
I think those are enough for now. It will be good at the next batch. I expect the young girls to ask. None of you is going to ask, is there a reversal of P2? Because you may not have been the victim. You could ask for someone else.
For a friend.
Yeah, for a friend.
Asking for a friend. Precious.
Okay, well, for me, I would like to ask, there is this thing, I don't know whether it's a P2, but they call it emergency. Okay, I think P2 is also emergency pills. But there is something that I have seen it from most of the ladies, they take it, like somebody's on medication, you're taking it on a daily basis. Yeah, like literally somebody will tell you, even they have got time, it's timing, like on a specific time I'm supposed to be taking it. So I really don't know what that is, but they call it emergency pills on a daily basis. At times, there's a friend of mine who told me they pick it from hospital. They just give them for free. Others buy it from the chemist. I don't know its name, but they are calling it emergency pills.
Okay. That is a new one. No, you should enlighten us on that one. Any other? Yes. Thank you. A question from a gentleman.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's another one.
Okay. I have a question. We've been doing a project to help young girls with question. If you have missed your period and you're worried, you just contact. We have a hotline called Jen. You reach her, she guides you. So daktari, I've met a lot of girls. Someone tells you, I've not had sex. Then like I'm not seeing my periods. What could be wrong? Again, someone will tell you, I had sex, I used P2, and I'm not seeing my periods. So what is the biology behind that?
Thanks. I think those are handful. Yes. Then we can take the next round as we get to finish.
Yes. So, thank you very much. I'll start with what services we offer at the medical facility. I know it's a mystery to very many people, but one thing I would want to say for free, I'm a child of a medical institution. Also, my parents are lecturers, and I think I'd say with authority that medical schemes in prison, Kenya Power, Central Bank of Kenya, universities are the same. They always have a chief medical officer and the CEOs. Even in Kenya Pipeline, they were benchmarking with us recently. It is the same thing across the board, the MDs. Now, what you do, you come to us to identify yourself as a staff member. We have your records. Then from there on, you either see a clinical officer or you have a booking to see me. The only disadvantage I am one, and I am always doing other things, and being the link between management and the facility, we always have a clinical officer 24 hours a day. We have a night shift, an afternoon shift, and an evening shift because of course, human beings, human resource issues. We just have to get the system running. Now, we have two consultation rooms, consultation room 2 and 3. One is at my office. Who do I see specifically? I see all diabetics, I see all cancer patients, I see all hypertensive, and I see high-risk pregnant mothers. For example, if you have hypertension in pregnancy, you will see us. So you'll find the patients I know personally by their names are patients who are probably in one of those categories. Other ways we do communicate is your issue was taken to the clinical officer and they felt they needed a senior review, me being the senior. But because like right now, I cannot predict the issues going down, we give them leeway. So you might find sometimes you don't come to us directly. Maybe your issue is a bone issue and I'm not an orthopedic surgeon, you're sent to an orthopedic surgeon. So we have a panel of consultants. All the consultants in Kisii, who you find in Aga Khan, Nyangena, Hema, are all in our panel, including our own lecturers, Wire, Orina, Oigara, name them. We believe the best doctors are lecturers because they are practicing and reading at the same time. Then Kunele decency, colleague. So they take better care of us. In fact, if you come to me, I'll most likely send you to a colleague. Because if he sees there's a problem, you pick a call and call him. Now, once you go there for a review, we give you authority to apply expense. That is consultation fee, anything apart from medication. There's that thing we call a medical allowance. It covers medication. We used to, before I came here, we used to cover peer medication, but people are misusing. So you go and pick all your prescriptions in the village, you come and cash them. So it became a attack for the university. So what the university decided with the unions is we offer everything, but we minus the medication. However, I always advise people, Kisii has very many portable drugs. So you'll find you're taking your drugs for diabetes and your sugars are not going down. Kumbe umepewa choka. So always advise people to pick their drugs here, medication here. Yes, we have everything for them. Maybe your specific name or brand we might not stock at that time, but if you give us 24 hours, we'll source for it and get it for you. But remember the priority is students, because for staff members, most of you have options. Some will have their own private insurance covers to get to. Now, once you claim, the ball is in finance, but we always tell the finance officer, make sure the same you expedite. Like a claim that was done on maybe today morning, I will say in the afternoon. So we try our best. I don't think the delay is usually at our part for claims that are there. Now, issues occur at the point of referrals. Yesterday, I have a very sick relative who is very senior in Egerton University. I'm telling you, very senior, suffering from COVID and only been seen in Evans. She'll tell you she lives in Nakuru. I was even like, who goes to Evans? But that's the only hospital they can. The only reason I limit as the medical officer is this: hospitals want to see money. Hospitals like Adakan, the hospital demand for deposits. They tell you 1,000 in numbers, give us 10 million. Do you see that happening? We have all those MOUs piled up in those managers' office. But the issue is always there, the deposits. They fear the deposit, they fear the bills. Up to me, I would have all hospitals in Kenya under our inpatient panel. Why? Because we can control our bills. But what we have now decided, as management have decided and instructed us, we're actually now cleaning up your data. We are going the insurance way. But we are the only ones who are going to suffer. Insurance, unless you are grade 15 and above, we are going to get a good deal. Our money, how much do you get as in your grade as medical allowance? You, is it 55?
No,
it's 45 times 12?
that is about